computer. I'm recording. Okay. That I just get just me talking and you don't have to be on the recording, okay? Since I put it on YouTube for you guys. Um, all right, so let me jump into things tonight and share my screen and share this right here and see what happens. Okay, I think I can put myself over here so you can kind of, whoops, whoa, I went downstairs. Maybe that's a good thing. Um, Yeah, I'm just trying to move myself so I'm not in the way here. Okay, can you guys see this okay? I hope you guys can see that okay. Um, we're going to talk about conversions. That's what this week is all about is doing conversions, okay? And just so you know, it occurs to me kind of an interesting thing here. No, I better not do that. So I want to apologize to everybody, first of all, because the way they have the curriculum, there's like all these different ways of converting things. And I know that if I was in this class with you and I'd never been exposed to these before, I might feel a little bit overwhelmed this week with how do you convert fractions to percents and percents to fractions and decimals and back and forth and all these things, okay? However, here's my advice to you. Use what we do tonight, the notes that you're going to take here tonight, use it as kind of like your notes for your homework. But also, I don't mind if you use these notes, have them out in front of you when you take when you do WAMAP and when you do the exam and the quiz at the end of the week. So I just want you to know, consider it like an open book test, because in real life, most people aren't going to remember all the different ways to flip things back and forth. Okay, so that's one piece of advice. Yes, use what you write down tonight as your notes that you can use on the exam. All right, number two, um, since this is 70, TS 70, you're kind of at that point where you should have kind of learned fractions by now. And I mentioned to you guys last week, um, that you can use your calculator, okay? You can use a calculator at this point. And that will speed up tonight's work a lot. So hopefully you have a calculator somewhere close by. I've got one right here by my left hand. It's the TI-30XS. And you can use the calculator on the test. And there are some shortcuts actually for some of these steps on a calculator. Um, in fact, this one right here there's a short step on how to do this on a calculator. So I don't mind that you do this on a calculator. However, I am going to show you basically how to do it kind of by hand, okay? All right, so here we go. So the first concept is changing fractions into decimals, okay? And so if I have this one here, 1/2, how do I change it into a decimal? Basically, the rule is, okay, is to divide. If I write it over here, and you can write this in your notes, okay? The bottom, I'll just make it simple, into the top. That's the simplest way, the denominator into the numerator, okay? That is the simplest way to put it, to do it. So I'm going to show you how to do this. And if you're taking notes, this is how I would do this. I might put equals 2, that's the bottom number, divided into 1, okay? Now, you can probably already see that you can't really do that off the top of the hand, off the top of your head. You can go, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. How do I do that? So what you do is you'd put a decimal here and add like a couple zeros here, okay? That doesn't change the number at all. And then go ahead in your notes, put your decimal right here. All right. So then what I do is I divide 2, doesn't go into 1, it goes into 10 5 times. And notice I've already got my decimal right place. Then I multiply, 2 times 5 is 10. I subtract and get a 0. Does 2 go into 0? No. Does it go into that? No. Okay. So it's 0.50. All right. So realistically, as a decimal, it's just 0.5. Okay. 0.50 is the same thing. Okay. So let me give another one here. If I had 2/3, okay? Which we're gonna have I guess we're gonna practice that in a minute, so let's hang on for that. If I had the number 3 and, okay, 3/4, okay, and they ask me to change that into a decimal, here's what I would do. The 3 is the whole number already, so I'm just gonna worry about the fraction here, okay? So what I would do is I would do 4 into 3. Point, I'd add a couple of zeros here. And again, guys, put your decimal there before you forget where it goes. 4 goes into 3, none, but into 30, it goes 7 times. Times that's 28. Subtract, I get 2. Does 4 go into 20? No, bring down to 0. Goes into this 5 times, okay? So it becomes 0.75. Now, my final answer would be, okay, I just dealt with the fraction. My final answer would be 3.75, okay? And the reason why I got this 3 is because it was in the whole number first. So I just converted the decimal into a fraction, okay? Now I know I'm going a little fast here, but let me see what my next slide looks like here. I think I might have you practice. Yeah. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you guys to take this first one on your own scratch paper. I want you to write 2/5 equals, and I'm going to give you like 2 minutes to see how many of these you can get done. If you just get one done and it's on your notes and you do it right, cool. So go ahead and do the first one. Okay. So I'm going to show you here how I would have done this one. All right, so it's 0.40 is the first one, okay? And then the second one, you should have gotten 0.75, just so you know if you got that far. And then the third one, it probably 0.33 would be the answer. So if you wanted to, you can write those down, but that's just a little bit of practice. Hello, good evening. Um, Changing fractions into decimals, okay? So you've got that in your notes. By the way, this slideshow, I can share this with you, especially your college email accounts, this whole slideshow with all my notes on it. So at the end, if you remind me, I will. You all have a college email account, okay, through the college. And that email address, I can share this with you. And from that, it's because it's a Gmail address. You can open up the slideshow if I share it with you. All right, let's go on to the next concept. And this is changing a decimal to a fraction. So I'm going to give you guys 20 seconds to neatly copy down what you see on the screen. And I'll have you, if you have your video on, to turn that off, just so you're not on my recording, just for your own privacy's sake. So if you have your video on and we can see you, it's nice to see you, but go ahead and just turn that off. Hit the video thing and click it to off. Thank you. Let me see if I can do that all. Hmm. No, I can't. Okay. Changing decimals to fractions, okay? Anytime you're taking notes and you can simplify it, I might just write decimal to fraction. if I was taking notes, okay? Because I know this is all about converting this week. So I would, and then I might, for number one, I might, if I was taking notes, I'd go like this, 0.25, okay? That's all I would write down. For the next one, I would write 0 or 0.60. That's all I'd have to write down. So I'm simplifying. All right, here's the way I want you guys to think about it, okay? 0.25 here as a, it's a decimal and they want you to change it to a fraction. As a fraction, okay, here's what I would tell you to do. Go to the very last number, the very last digit that's actually a number, okay? And ask yourself, what place is that number in? Okay. It goes, after the decimal, it goes tenths, hundredths. Okay. It's in the hundredths place. So as a fraction, this is 25. It's the same as 25 over 100. Okay. If you think about it, that's 125 cents, okay, out of 100. So again, you go to the last decimal point, ask yourself, what place is that? That's your denominator, okay? Now in this case, oftentimes they'll ask you to change it to a fraction, and then they might say this, you can write this on your notes here, simplify, okay? If they say simplify or if they say reduce, it means the same thing. That's what they're asking you to do, is to reduce it, okay? So I know that 25 goes into itself once and into 104 times. So simplified, it's 1/4, okay? All right, can you change number 2 into a fraction? I'll give you 10 seconds. All right, so here's what I would have done, okay? Since the 0, we don't really need to worry about the 0 because it's the last digit. It's the, I mean, you could have gone like this. You could have gone, I guess the long way would have been 60 over 100, okay? And then, you know, when you reduce, if you have zeros on the end of a number, you can cross them out if there's zeros on both ends. So that's really 6/10, okay? And 6/10 can be reduced to 3/5. How do I know that? Because 2 goes into 6 3 times and 2 goes into 10 5 times, okay? So that would be the reduced, simplified version of it. Let me show you one more, this 9.45, if they want you to make, think of this decimal here. Think of it as the word and, okay? And that might help, okay? This is 9 and 45 over 100, okay? That's the decimal point. If you say it as the word and, like 9 and 45 over hundreds. And then that reduces down. I happen to know that 5 goes into both of these numbers. It goes into this 9 and into this 20 times, right? So I'm just going to bring over this 9 here, and I'm going to get 9 and 9/20. There's my reduced fraction version, okay? All right, that's how I would change that into a fraction. All right, hope I'm going at about the right pace for you all. Let's have you guys just pick any one of these 3. You can write them down on your paper if you want as examples. These are practice. This is practice, okay? And turn it into a fraction. Okay, I'm just kind of going through them real fast here. 25 goes into each of these 3/4, and this would be 3, and this is 14 over 100. Divided both by 2, and you get 7 over 50. So my answer would be 3 and 7/50. Okay, give you about 5 seconds to copy any of those down if you wanted to for the answers. And again, I'm going to apologize for the second time to you guys. I'm apologizing that in the curriculum for this class, they throw so many conversions at you in 1 week, and you're going to feel like, how am I going to ever remember this? Here's the honest answer. You're not, unless you're just a genius, okay? And it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not going to, it's not going to, you'll have your notes on your quizzes and exams. You can use these notes. So you'll have right in front of you. So you just flip to the right page and then do your quiz, okay? All right, changing fractions to percents. So I'll give you guys 30 seconds to copy this down. I don't know how I managed to move myself out of the way here. There, that's better. Oh, I did it again. Sorry, guys. You're writing and I'm playing. How's that? Okay. Give you another. Okay, that's about a minute here. All right. There's a rule when you do this. There's a basic rule. We'll call this the rule. Okay, when you're doing this. So when you're changing a fraction to a percent, you divide the denominator of the fraction into the numerator. And as here's the and here, you can circle this, okay? And move the decimal point 2 places to the right, okay? So basically, this is just like converting a fraction to a decimal, okay? Um, except for then there's one more step. So that's why I underlined the and here, okay? This is like just like converting a fraction to a decimal. If they asked me to turn 4/5 into a decimal, I would just do my math right here. I would divide 5 into 4 and get 0.8, okay? But the extra step is you do this, okay? You move the decimal point 2 places, which gives you 80%. You're just going to move it. So you change it to a decimal and then convert it from a decimal into a percent. Okay. Example 2, if they want me to change 2/3 into a percent, that's 2/3. Okay. I would divide my 3 into 2.00, and I'm going to get 0.66 basically is what I'm going to get if I do the math here. Okay. Then I do the next step, which is convert it, move it 2 places. So that's 66%. That is how you convert a fraction to a percent. So you'll have these notes to look at to help you on the quiz and on any exam. Can you guys hear music? That's my son playing upstairs. I don't know if you guys can hear it. You could do the practice one here. This is the same thing, so you don't have to copy down the blue at the top. You can just copy down the 2 problems, okay? These are more examples, like 6/10. I would divide 10 into 6. And I would put a point and I put a couple zeros there. I would put my decimal here. I'm going to get, basically this is what I'm going to get. 0.60 is what I would get, okay? Then I would move it 2 places, so that equals 60%. You kind of know this by instinct, okay? 3/2, that's the one that I just showed you. Go like this. I don't know if we actually did that. Uh-oh, the pen just did a weird thing. That always makes me nervous. That is 0.66, I think. Okay, which equals 66%. Okay, that's kind of how you would do those. All right, how am I doing, guys? Is my pacing okay? Give you another 10 seconds to copy this. These are just a couple more examples of changing fractions into percents. Okay, I'm going to move on because we have lots to cover here. All right, changing a percent to a fraction. Okay, so maybe on your notes, you're just going to write down percent to fraction. Okay. Um, yes. So if I was taking it, you take the percent, put it over 100, and then reduce. That's all I would write down. All right. So I've got 80%. I'm going to take the percent, put it over 100, and reduce. That reduces down to 8/10. How would I know? Because there's a rule. When you have zeros on the end of it, you can cross them out. Same amount of zeros on both sides. You can cross out, okay? Which, by the way, reduces some more, okay? Because 2 goes into both of those, so it becomes 4/5. Yeah, it reduces that far, okay? Um, so anyway, that's the rule. You put it over 100, then reduce. Now, this next one is 7.5. Okay, this is a little bit complicated, so I'm going to show you some steps on the next slide here. Okay, um, and this is 7.5%. Okay, how would you change that to a percent or to a fraction? Okay, um, first thing what we're going to do is we're going to take this 7.5% and you're going to make it a fraction over 100. So it'd be like this: 7. What you can copy down what I'm writing down in white here. 7.5 over, like we said, over 100. Okay. All right. Now, that means the same thing as 7.5 divided by 100. That's what it means. It's the same thing. Okay. Now, let's see. In this class, you may remember this if you've had 60, and you might remember it from last week. Uh, to do a division problem, like when you have a mixed fraction here, like 7.5, I'm going to change it into an improper. So I'm going to go 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1 is equals. So I'm going to write this 15 over 2. Okay. I just turned that into that right there. That's all I did. Okay. Divided by 100, which would be the same as you would multiply by the reciprocal, 1 over 100. Then, so now the reason why I reversed it here, remember when you do division, you flip it upside down and then multiply. Then what I would do is cross cancel. 5 goes into this 3 times, into this 20 times. In my final answer, I get 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 20 is 40. Okay. Yep, that's right. 3/40. Okay. So that's a little bit of a complicated one because it's 7.5%. Okay, turning into fraction, but that's how you do it. You follow. If it's okay if I go back one slide to show you, you follow the same rule. You take the percent, put it over 100, and reduce. All we did here was we took the percent, which is 7.5% here. We put it over 100, and then I just divided it. In this case, I turned this into an improper, which is over here, and then I divided by multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, that's kind of complicated. Most of the ones you're going to run into will be simple. They'll be just the you know, 20%. Change it into a fraction. Okay. There it is right there. Okay. I'd like you to try this real quick, okay? Change this into a fraction. So try any one of these. Why don't you just try 20%? Change this is a percent, okay, to a fraction. All right, so it should look like this, guys. 20 over 100 reduces down. If you want to use my method, you see how the ends have zeros here? Cross these out because there's zeros on the end. And you only cross out the same amount of zeros on the top as you do on the bottom. You wouldn't cross out 2 on the bottom and 1 on the top, okay? The same amount. This becomes 2/10, which reduces down to 1/5, okay? All right, that's how you would do that one, okay? So that's how you change a percent to a fraction. There's a couple more for you to practice. And by the way, I want to show you guys something on the screen here. I want you to look at this. I'm going to change the screens here for you a second, okay? This is you guys have this PDF, okay? It's in your Math 70 class in Canvas. In week 3, it'll say, it's a PDF practice converting fractions and decimals percents, okay? It's this PDF. You have this. What I did is I took some of the examples, all of these concepts, I'm putting them into my slideshow here. But I wanted you to see that you actually have this with practice problems on it. And here's what's really nice, okay, for studying for the test or exam. If you thought you needed more practice, all of these practice problems are on here for how to do everything I'm showing you right now. And there's story problems, which we're going to, but here's the cool thing. There's answers, okay? So, it shows you converting fractions to percents and decimals, and it shows you each step and it gives you the answer for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first one's the next row of 10 or 14 or 15 it is. So each row, each kind of thing, okay? Story problems, it gives you the answers and it shows you a little bit of how to do them. You get to actually see this. So you have this document in my Canvas class, okay? If you feel like, I just don't know where to look for that, ask me at the end of class and I will stick it into the chat box for you to open up, just to download right from the chat box, okay? So I just wanted you to know that you have more practice problems with answers available to you in my class. Okay, moving on. New concept, and I want you to copy this down, this slide, changing a decimal to a percent. This one's a little bit easier. If I was taking notes, I might just write this: move the decimal point 2 places to the right. That might be all I would write down. Oh, and then you have to add the percent sign. Okay. Okay. Don't worry, my mic didn't go off. I just wanted to give you time to copy these things down here. Um, so the rule is to move it 2 places to the right here. So if I want 1, 2, okay, it becomes 45, and then you just add the percent sign, okay? If I have 0.7, I'm going to move it 2 places to the right, okay? I'm going to fill in a 0, and then I'm just going to make it 70% here, okay? 0.03, move it 2 places, and it becomes 3%. And 12.5%, or I mean, 0.12 and a half is like 0.12 and a half. If I just moved it 2 places like this, 1, 2, it becomes 12. And then I happen to know that I could say 12.5%. I could write it like this, okay, because I just moved it 2 places, or 12.5%, because I know that 1/2 equals 0.5. All right. So that's the basic rule for changing decimals to percents. If you want to see another example, a little practice here, let's do 1 or 2 more. Got 0.13. That's 0.13 like this. I'm gonna move it 2 places, 1, 2. So that's 13, and we're changing to percent. So I'm gonna put the percentage sign, okay? This is 45%. This is 16.04. Now, how did I do that? I went 1, 2%. Okay. And this one here equals, I'm going to write it again here. I'm going to move it 2 places. This is 505%. Okay. That's changing decimals to percents practice. Okay. And again, on your worksheet, on that PDF I was talking about, you have more examples. All right, for the third time, I'm going to apologize that there's so many back and forth conversions and you're going, how am I going to remember all this? And you can study it, you can kind of practice it some. I would practice it a number of times on the PDF, on these notes that we have, but also I'm letting you use these notes on the exam, okay? All right, speaking of notes, next page, changing a percent. So if I was taking notes, I might just write percent to decimal, okay, at the top. And there's a rule, okay, that you follow. Okay, this is the rule. You drop the percent and you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Kind of like the reverse of what we've been doing here. So if this is just 7, well, I drop the percentage point and it's assumed to be, decimal point is assumed to be here. I would move it 2 places. The decimal here, fill in a 0.07, okay? Another way to think about it, if you wanted to, 7%, that's 7 per 100. Really, that's 7 over 100 as a fraction, okay? Which is the same thing as what I've got right here. It's 7's in the 100th place, okay? All right, changing a percent to a decimal, drop the percent, drop the percent. Move it 2 places, it's assumed to be here. So it's 0.35, okay? 0.35. 175%, drop the percent sign. Move the decimal, which is assumed to be right there, 2 places, 1.75, okay? All right, so I think you guys have the general idea here of how to change percents to a decimal, drop the percent, move the decimal 2 places. I'm going to give you another 5 seconds here to copy whatever last thing you're copying here. All right, how are we doing for time? Hey, we're doing great. Okay. can you change these? Let's write a couple of them down, maybe two of them, any two of them, and change them into percents, to decimals. So 0.07, 0.03, 0.10, 0.195. There's your answers, okay? So if you're copying them down, that is moving it 2 places. We're almost done. I think we're going to get to some story problems here in a second, okay? I hope I'm going at just the right pace for you guys. Okay, I'm going to move on. Yeah, story problems. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of these. Now, you're probably going, hey, teacher, how am I going to write all those down so fast? Okay, I want to show you something. Okay, so you don't panic. Okay, so don't feel like you have to write all this down, but I do want to show you this. Okay, you see that document I was telling you about right here? A local store is having a store-wide sale and is giving its customers 20% off. What's the fraction taken off prices? Okay, what is the fraction taken off prices? All right. So you have the answers here. You have the problems. Okay, if I go back to my document here, stores having a sale, stores having a sale. You see how I took the same exact problem so you would know that you're doing the right thing, okay? And so again, if we just looked at the example here on the screen here, it's 20% off, okay? We're going to move our decimal point 2 places. Whoa, is that going to let me write on there? It's not going to let me write on there. 2 places and put it over 100. So, sorry, you go back here. 20% off, that's 20 over 100. And, reduce, it says to reduce all the fractions to the lowest term percent to the nearest 100. Okay, so fractions reduce and the percents to the nearest tenth, and decimals to the nearest thousandth. Okay, see that? You want to pay attention to that on your quizzes and exams. These little notes that say to reduce or do it to the nearest thousand. Okay, this one becomes 2/10. And again, here's my rule. I got 1 0 on the top, 1 on the bottom, so I can cancel them, and that reduces down to 1/5. Okay. What is the fraction? And says it's asking for what is the fraction. Yeah, I got myself a fraction here, so that's what they're asking for. In a survey, 3 out of 5 people, that's 3 out of 5 people. Okay, I'm looking at this next problem. Prefer to drink soda over drinking water. What is the percentage of people who prefer to drink soda? Okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to convert this to a decimal. Okay, so I'm going to go 5 into 3, 0.00. Stick that decimal there before you forget. 5 goes into 30. 5 times 5 times 6 times 30. Subtract, get 0. All right, I got 0.60. All right, that's a decimal. Is that my final answer? Here's my advice to you. Always go back to the original question. What is the percentage? It's asking for a percent, okay? So my answer has to be not 0.60, but I'm going to move it 2 places. So it's equals 60% prefer soft drinks. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm a water drinker. I almost never drink soft drinks, maybe at a birthday party or something, but if it's offered. But all right, so anyway, that's a couple of story problems. I think I got a couple more. I don't know if you're trying frantically to write all that down, but I did write the math on how to do it. You might want to just write the number problem and then how we did it, because you actually have these questions on the PDF, okay? All right, I'm going to show you a couple more. We're doing great for time here, guys. That's fantastic, okay? Mikey, that should say Mikey's. That's probably a typo. Mikey's employer takes 8% of his paycheck to help fund his retirement. 8%. 8%. Notice how I'm just taking the numbers on the story and putting it on my paper. 8%, okay, of his paycheck to help fund his retirement. What fraction of his paycheck funds his retirement? They're asking me for a fraction. See how I'm modeling this? I'm highlighting this, okay? So 8%, that's 8 per 100, okay? So 8%, if I just moved it 2 places to the left to turn it into a decimal, it becomes 0.08, okay? Which is the same thing as that 8's in the 100th place. This is 8 over 100. Okay, 8% is 8 out of 100, right? 8 over 100. What fraction of his paycheck funds his retirement? And they said in the directions, they gave in the directions these story problems to reduce all fractions. It gave me that directions in my directions before I started taking this quiz. So I know that 4 goes into this twice and 4 goes into this 25 times, okay? That's the reduced fraction. All right. Lily, 8, 7/25ths of a pie. First thing, what percentage, okay? So I'm gonna take and I'm modeling for you how you should do story problems, okay? I would underline it, it wants 7, and it says what percentage? And so this is what I would do if I had a piece of paper, if this was a paper quiz, even if it's online, sometimes you can highlight things, but so 7 over 25, I'm going to take the number from the story problem, okay? And then what percentage, I'm going to do my math, okay? And I'm going to divide, I think for the sake of time, I'm just going to divide 25 into 7.00. Again, I'm going to put my decimal point up there. This gives me a 20. Yeah, so it's like 20 something percent. There would do 0, 0, 20 at a 0, and this is a 4, 8. I think this would give me an 8, okay? 0.208, because it has to do it to the nearest thousandth approximately. That's how I do that, okay, same method. All right, wow, I can't believe we went through all those steps, okay? So let me show you something else real fast, if you guys don't mind, okay? To help you with your grade in my class. That's the wrong class, isn't it? Da, 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 da. That's my other class. Let me show you your class. I want to make sure you're all real clear what you're doing this week, and then I'm going to let you go early, like I said I occasionally would, okay? So here's my class. We're in week 3, the 3rd week of the quarter. So there it is, okay? This is week 3 here. So the basic format, again, of my class is notes on the concept. You know, it gives you the topic of what the whole week's about. Then there's video notes on how to do things. Then there's the practice packet. This practice packet is this right here that I was just showing you on the screen here with all the answers and all the questions and everything we just went through in your notes, okay? So this practice packet is it, okay? That's where you'll find it, okay? I'm gonna stick it in the chat box in a second. I'm gonna try to stick in the chat box. I don't know if it'll work on some of your computers, so you'll have better luck with this. All right, the homework, once you've taken notes tonight on the concepts up here, which we just talked about, okay? And you've done some practice on this with the answers right there for you so you can see how you're doing, okay? Then you're probably ready to start doing the WOMAC homework because you'll now know the concepts and you get to use a calculator. So you can use a calculator. And by the way, if you go to YouTube and just type in, TI-30XS changing fractions to decimals, there's a button on your calculator. Once you have a fraction on your calculator, you just press it's kind of like a toggle right above the enter button on if you have a TI-30XS, it's that key right above the enter button. That'll change a fraction to a decimal for you, Okay. And then if you have a decimal and you want to change it to a fraction, so if your calculator gave you a decimal and so you got this decimal on your calculator right there, 0.75, okay? If you press that button that's right above the enter key, it'll change it to um, 25 over 100, no, 75 over 100, or what would it do? 7 out of 10? I forget. Anyway, 0.75 as a decimal. Change a fraction to a decimal, okay? So just so you know, now you might be going, hey teacher, how come you're just telling us that we could use a calculator? Here's why. I'll say it to you again. I'm showing you how to do, I just showed you how to do it all by hand. But at this point, we're now in 70, we're getting ready for 76. When you move into the next class and beyond, you get to use a calculator for everything, everything. Like all of your homework, all of your quizzes, all of your tests and exams and finals, you get to have a calculator. So that's why I'm kind of trying to show you both here, but get you used to maybe starting to try using your calculator a little bit too for this as well, okay? All right, here's the last thing I wanted to show you. So you got your practice packet, you got your WAMAP homework, okay? And then you got a quiz on conversions. Then you actually have an exam, the first exam, okay? And that first exam, I want to show you how to find that. Okay, so I'm going to go real fast to my class and show you real quick as I log in here. Because I did have at least one student, it wasn't showing in the class, and we fixed that for you guys, but it is now, okay? All right, so this is your class in WAMAP. This is 70, and this is the stuff we're working on. We're right here in Unit 3. All this WAMAP stuff is the same thing, you know, fraction, decimal conversion. This is all what we just got through talking about. For the exam at the end of this week that you want to take by Sunday night, okay? It might say like Friday or something, but if you get it done this week sometime, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen, you'll see unit 1, 2, and 3 exams. This is like week 1, 2, and 3, okay? So that first exam is right there. That's where you're gonna find it, right at the bottom. Okay, all right, stop sharing. All right, guys, I hope you guys are doing okay. You all, if you want, you can turn your cameras back on and your microphones back on, and um, you're certainly welcome to come back on camera. Oh, let me turn off the recording. Sorry. Stop.